Hi, everybody. It's Professor Mitchell. So a couple more short videos for Chapter 2. This next one is on Section 2.5, which is about the stem and leaf display. A stem and leaf display splits the data values into stems, which are the larger place values, and the leaves, which is the smallest place value. By listing all of the leaves to the right of each stem, can clearly describe how the data are distributed. All of the original data points are visible on the display. They're easy to construct by hand, and they provide a histogram-like view of the distribution. So those are some of the advantages of using a stem and leaf display. I have used them in my real life, not quite as much as I used to. So when I first got into teaching, I would give an exam, and if I wanted to get a really quick picture of how the class did, I would put the scores into a stem and leaf display. It's really easy, and it basically does the same thing as a histogram in terms of showing you the shape of the distribution. So let's look at an example. For this example, we're going to use the tens digit as the stem and use the ones digit as the leaf. So you can see here how they've gotten it started. I am actually going to switch over to my tablet. As I was looking at this PowerPoint, it kind of seemed to me like I go to the next slide and ta-da, it's all done. So I thought you might find it a little more helpful if I kind of showed you the construction. All right, so I'm kind of proud of myself that I figured out how to get that picture on there. All right, so the first thing you need to do when you're making a stem and leaf display is to kind of look over your data. And I just noticed something that I'm not going to mention that's going to take the fun out of it a little bit. I'll mention it afterwards, okay? So these data range from 78 to 95. So what I'm going to do is put 7, 8, 9. Okay. And you saw how they got started on the PowerPoint. They started with these two scores right here. So the 78 is represented like this. The 80 is represented like that. So I think what I'll do is I'll just continue going down in columns. So the next one is 84. You just put a 4 there. And then going to the second column, we have 78, 81, and 85. Then in the third column, we have 79, 81, 86. And then 79, 82, 87. 79, 83, 88. And then we have 80, 83, 90, 80, 84, 92. And finally, we have 80, 84, 95. Okay. All right. So that is what I call the rough draft of the stem and leaf display. And the reason I call it a rough draft is because if you look at the 80s row, those numbers are not in order. And we want to put them in order. So now I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint where they do have them in order. And then I'll let you in on the secret that I was pretending not to notice. Okay. So after those leaves have been sorted, they look like this. Now, I didn't notice until I had already started that these exam scores are actually already sorted. And if I had gone across in rows instead of going down by columns, I would have gotten them in order the first time. But I have a really good reason for pretending I didn't notice that. And that's because the data is not always going to be given to you in order. I mean, for example, when I give my class an exam, I might have the scores listed in alphabetical order by student, okay? And actually, that was one of the things that I used to use a stem leaf display for, was putting the scores in order from lowest to highest or highest to lowest. Now I use Excel to do that, all right? So yeah, it's really important when you're given a set of data to first, make your rough draft of the stem and leaf display. I mean, if you can make it right from the beginning with the leaves in order, then go ahead and do that. I would have been able to do that if I had gone across in rows, but you won't always be able to do that. So then after you do your rough draft, then do it again and just put the leaves in order. Okay. Now, one thing I notice about this stem and leaf display, if you kind of turn your head sideways, it does have the shape of a histogram. However, remember that we said it wasn't a good idea to have too few classes in a histogram, and 3 classes would definitely be too few. So what you can do is you can split the stems in half. So this stem here represents 75 to 79. This one here is 80 to 84. This one here is 85 to 89, 90 to 94, 95 to 99. And that gives you a little bit more detail. Now, for example, I can see that this data is skewed to the right a little bit. Remember, I'm turning my head sideways. And, because the data is kind of stretching in this direction, which is to the right, if I have my head sideways, we call that skewed to the right, okay? And it looks like the most common score, or the most common grade, was, a B, like a low B, right? Okay, so I think that's basically all there is to it. Let's see. Yes, another short video in the books. Not quite as short as the last one, but still pretty short. Don't get used to this. They will be a little longer starting in chapter 3. All right, so we'll see you next time for 2.6.